for me to be.
I just don't even know where the cloud is, how to access it.
Well,
Like,
everyone has a cloud now. Google has a cloud, Amazon has a cloud.
yeah, and
Well,
I
there's
just have
cloud.
so many questions about that because I feel like all of my clouds are always running out of storage and like it's uh, a cloud, like it doesn't exist. How
I
is
know.
it out of storage? It's not a physical thing. And then I like pay the like how a few dollars to Apple for extra storage on the cloud and like it still says it runs out of space.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
And like if I delete things off my phone, does it also delete from the cloud? How do I retrieve things from the cloud?
I know. There's too many options. We just need to start doing like hard copies of like pictures because it's just
Yeah.
overwhelming. You
Yeah.
know, it's like the old school. Too
Yeah.
much options.
Like literally, I feel like we need to just keep this in because maybe then we'll finally get a Gen Z correspondent who is like, it's just this is what the cloud is, this is how it works. Please let me help you. Like maybe they'll feel
This is
bad enough for us.
common sense.
Yeah.
This should be our hashtag. I need to find some Gen Z help. Please help me.
Yes, please save us. I also, speaking of pictures, we just developed the rest of our disposable camera pics from the wedding,
Yeah.
which was a hilarious journey, and I cannot wait to share some. Um, but I really want to buy this like mobile picture printer. It's
Yeah.
like $70 and it just connects to your phone and then it prints out little prints.
Oh, that's cool. I
And
like that.
right? I feel like then it's like things aren't just like forever on your phone. I can make little like I want to make a scrapbook from the honeymoon and like
Mhm. I know. Usually I make a
bring it
scrapbook
back.
every year and I love looking at them. I'm not like a professional at them whatsoever. I basically just print out every single picture that I have of that year and throw it together.
Yeah, but
And
I love that.
here I did the same thing and it's in a pile over here
Yeah.
still. And I'm like, I don't have time, but I want to do it. It's like another one of those things of
Oh,
like,
totally.
it's important to me, but like, when am I going to have the time?
I think that is like, I mean, especially a 90s mom. Like I'm very mom plight. Like my
Yes.
mom definitely like still has all of these like half-started scrapbooks that she
Mhm.
was like, each one of you is gonna have one of like your whole entire like school career, and it like ends at first grade. Which like
Okay, makes me feel
Sue
so
was
bad.
doing the most. Like she didn't have time to be doing
Yes,
scrapbooks.
I hear that. I hear that.
Well, how you been?
I've been good. I've been definitely sleepy. I am definitely nearing the end of this pregnancy. And
Mm.
I think that's both like so exciting and sad and all the emotions, but like physically it's a lot now. Like my feet hurt all the time and
Mm.
I'm like literally up every single hour just because like it's just a lot of weight on my body, like it's
Yeah.
a good amount that you're not used to. And my body's like, I have to kind of like rotate through like walking, sitting, standing,
Mm.
like stretching, all throughout the day. Like if I stay in doing one thing too long, it's uncomfortable. So when you try to
Yeah.
sleep, it's just like doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So I've been waking up and I usually wake up at like 5 at this point and I'll do like my stretches and I'll kind of like get the house ready before Annie wakes up. And I've been loving it's like an hour and a half before she wakes
Oh,
up.
but that's lovely.
Loving
Quiet.
that. Yeah. But then by her nap time, like I need a nap. So I've
Yeah.
honestly been napping
Good for
almost,
you.
and that is not me at all. But like I got nothing in the tank. So
Hey,
yeah.
you got to do what you got to do. And like, if there was ever a time that like you needed an excuse to take a nap every day, like being like at the end of your pregnancy, do whatever the hell you want.
Yeah. So it's all exciting, but it's definitely becoming real. We're at
Yeah.
34 weeks already. So
Mm.
it's wild.
That is so crazy. Are you feeling like the nesting kicking in?
Yeah, I
Is that
think
a
that
real
it's
thing?
hard to, yeah, it definitely is. It's hard with when you have like anxiety because I kind of like go off on it. Like mine's tenfold. I want the whole house to be like cozy and have like a place for everyone.
Yeah.
So it's just trying to organize my thoughts enough to make it like, let's just focus on one area, because I'm
Hmm.
overwhelming myself per usual. Um,
Totally.
But yeah, it's like I can't do everything. Like I physically am hurting now. Like
Right.
whereas usually I'm just emotionally a mess, but no, girl, you are not going to be able to do that.
And
So,
now it has come full circle.
but yeah, how are you doing?
I am good. I feel like my eyes are bright red because I just was sanding all of the surfaces in the bathroom because we have oil-based paint on all the trim. So you have to sand it and then do like this particular primer that's like disgusting. It's like painting with Elmer's glue. It's like really thick and it smells bad. So I was prepping everything for that and I wasn't wearing goggles because my project manager, Marcus, did not set me up for success.
Was he helping you or is he not feeling that great?
Yeah, he's not feeling great. He's on migraine for like days. So I
Yeah.
feel bad, but also it's like kind of his own fault.
As that happens with men. Yeah.
So like I
Yeah.
feel bad, but
I know
like,
someone like that. That's so weird.
like you're running yourself into the ground as we do. Um, but yeah, the so we're doing the downstairs bathroom, which is really exciting because I have been dying to make it pretty because it's so ugly and just ugh.
But it's just a bad.
Um,
I wouldn't say it's ugly. It's just like,
it's
wow.
just so it's very boring to look at. It's like a weird shade of like yellow, and it kind of became our like workstation when we were doing all the downstairs rooms. So there's like paint splatter all over it, and it's just like I haven't put anything on the walls or like done anything because it's just like yeah. But I'm kind of owning this project, but I told Mark, I'm like, I need to be as close to like a passenger princess as possible. So like set up the space for me, get all the tools ready, set me up for success, and then I can do the work.
I love it.
Um, yeah, ordered some wallpaper, so
A
that's
big wall.
exciting. I
I feel
love
like
it.
wallpaper in a bathroom is like so cute too.
Yeah, so cute. And we got some trim. So we're doing the like 3/4 of the way up the wall trim to match the dining room. And then we got some fun wallpaper to do on the top.
Mm,
So it's gonna be great.
I love that so much.
Yeah, Mark is forcing me to move and groove with these home projects because we took a long break and then we said like this winter we'll dive right back in and now it's like end of January and he's like, so
See,
it
I
is
feel
this
like you guys
winter.
have been like going ham. I feel like you've done so much with your house.
We did so much. Exactly.
Yeah, you're doing so much. So give yourself credit. They look so
Thank
good.
you. Thank you. He just doesn't know how to stop, aka the migraine for days. But yeah, do you have a judge me for the week?
It's so funny because I've been like thinking about it and I feel like I'm just always like the same kind of complaint of like everything is ruminating in my head.
No.
I don't know. Have you thought of anything yet? I feel like I
Yeah,
could always complain about something, but let me hear what yours is first.
totally. Okay, so I started a list because like randomly they'll pop into my mind, and I kept it separate from our podcast list because I wanted them to have some shock factor,
Thank you.
when we discuss, so there's no secrets.
Yeah.
Um, and I have a few. I think the one most pertinent to today's episode, since we're recording on a Sunday, is that I have not gotten out of my pajamas or brushed my teeth, which really is the judge me part, until noon, like until afternoon,
Mm.
really, on Saturday and Sunday of this weekend. And let me tell you, I am not judging myself. Like, I am thriving. I regret nothing.
Yeah.
But are other people judging me?
Hmm. That's a good question. I feel like no, no. How could they? How could you judge someone for that?
How
Unless you're
could you?
jealous.
I mean, truly, I feel like it's winter time in New England. If there was ever a time to be in your PJs for like half the day on the weekends,
Mm.
it was
Yeah,
now.
time to do it.
The not brushing your teeth until then is kind of gross, and
I feel
I'll
like in the
own
morning it's
that.
gross, but then you like eat something and then it's just everything's gross anyways. So like whatever, whatever.
Thank you. Thank you for that. So,
We'll let the people know though. We'll see what they think.
yeah. So,
Okay. You're getting a little orb over you, and I just want you to know that. I'm thinking that you have a little presence with you. Just, like a
mm.
good one. I'm getting like good vibes, but
Ooh, okay.
It's
I
like right
mean,
over your heart. It keeps blurbing over your heart.
oh my gosh. Well, our house is incredibly old, so there are definitely some ghosts here, I think, but I've never gotten any bad vibes before.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's good.
So, hey friends, come on, come on. You got anything to say on the podcast? Here's the
Hey.
mic.
Oh my God, don't do that. That would be so scary.
They're like, hello.
Okay. I think my judge me is so the other day, it was actually a funny story. I dropped Annie off at daycare and I walked in and Chad and I have kind of like a very open house policy, or at least we try to like let anyone know, like literally walk in when you want. Like we lock
I
our
love
doors
that.
at night and like that's really it. Um, and so I walked in the other day and the way you walk into my house, you can't see anything in my house. It's like one big room. And I hear a voice and they said, "Don't be scared." And I was like,
Oh my God.
"Oh my God." I literally like stopped walking and I was like, "What is going on?" And I saw someone like stand up and walk towards me and I was like, "What is going on? Oh my God." Like I literally was freeze.
You're
Like
like, this is when
when
I
I'm
die.
in a freeze state, I am not a fight or flight.
Oh, me too.
I'm just staying there.
Yeah.
So, anyways, it was my brother-in-law, which was awesome because like I love when he comes over. He works right next door, so he's kind of like by every now and then. But anyways, we had this good conversation and we were both talking about how like we're kind of like, what the hell do we want to do with life?
Mm,
And he's in like a similar position to me. I think everyone like in general goes through these ebbs and flows of like you either are really good at your job or you're bored at your job. Like there just has to be some type of movement. And I'm in such a weird predicament because I'm pregnant and I'm not working, but I'm having this urge to like do something. And
mm-hmm.
it's so counterintuitive because in one sense, it's like you're not going to be able to do anything for at least like another year. But part of me is like, over the postpartum phase of Annie, like I feel like if I weren't pregnant right now, I'd probably start to look for a different type of career, and I don't think it would be in teaching. So I'm kind of in like a funk about it because
Yeah.
I'm ready to do something, but then I feel like I'm not obviously going to be able to. So yeah, that's just been in my mind of like feeling a little bit guilty about wanting to like expand my life at home and also
Totally.
like excited for having a baby. So it's just a weird place to be at this stage of my life, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think that's anything to be judged for. I think that's like so normal and you're in such a like a transitional time of your life and like so much has happened and changed in your life in the last year and a half, almost 2 years. Like I think it'd be kind of weird if you weren't feeling that way. Like you were already
Yeah,
sort of having these thoughts before you got pregnant, and then obviously that just like changes the trajectory of things, but keep exploring.
I know. It's just like weird because I feel like biologically you should be like ready to hunker back down type of thing. Like, whereas I feel like I want to like go and do something grandiose. I mean, ask me in like a month and I'll definitely
Right.
be like, "Ugh."
You're like, never mind. But I
And
mean, I think like even if you
yeah.
just still like play around with ideas and what options could be, and then I think maybe that would make you feel a little bit, I don't know, less like bad about it. And that's not the right word, but
Yeah, I hear you. I just want something to come to me too. I'm just like,
oh, totally.
I want to live in flow. I really want to be that person that just goes with what feels good. But then, like, when it doesn't match up with an income, what
Yeah.
the hell do you do? What do
Yeah.
you do?
I think that's the age-old predicament, right? That I
Yeah.
think most of us here in the US especially are like that feeling of like there's got to be more. There's got to be more.
Yeah.
And yeah,
So,
there's
yeah,
got to be.
there's gotta be. Um, so yeah, shall we jump into our content of the day?
Let's jump in today. We are talking about our January book club book. Hello, beautiful.
It was a good one for me.
Yeah, okay. Initial reactions. What are your thoughts?
I
Let's
know,
do
sorry.
that, and
I'm
then
just
we
like
can kind of get
exercising.
into like deeper
Yeah.
discussions and then our ratings and stuff.
Totally. So I loved this book. It was totally unlike anything that I typically read. And it took me a long time to read it. I'm usually a really quick reader, but I felt like I was just like digesting it a little bit more slow. And
Mm-hmm.
I loved like analyzing all the characters, and I loved the author, the craftsmanship of her writing was so like inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
And she made you love every character for everything that they were, or at least that's how I felt. And it also made me think about like my own life a ton, and just thinking about how it's like everyone does the best that they can, even like
Mm-hmm.
people that you have in your family or that you might know. Like for me, I was thinking about my dad a lot, and I don't really talk about that a lot, but it's like my dad and I don't have a relationship, and it's for the best. But a lot of the times I'm like, if he were to come into my life, how would I feel about that? And this one really made me think about like, do I hate him? And it's like, no, like I don't think I think it's just like understanding that everyone does the best that they can with what
Mm-hmm.
they have and their understanding of the world. And so I think it was very, very, I don't know the word for it, retrospective for me.
Yeah, I totally agree with all of that. Like, same. It was much different, especially than the things I have been reading, because I read like two thrillers before this, or like
Okay.
psychological kind of like murdery mystery books. So much different than that, but it was a very welcomed change. Also was like much slower. Also, I feel like when you're reading on your Kindle, things feel faster because you're just like constantly flipping, and like the font was smaller in this, like the pages were longer. So I was like, just it was a slower one. And I feel like the pace of the book was slower. And I think on purpose to really have you like ruminate on everything that was happening. Um, and like it did just that. Like I feel like it really makes you think about like choices that you've made, or maybe people that have hurt you, or people that you've hurt, and thinking about like just that human experience of like no one is like all good or all bad. Like you're making choices, like you said, doing the best that you can. And I really enjoy books like this that like, I mean, a lot happened in it, so I don't want to say like not a lot happened, but it wasn't like this, twists and turns, and it was just about life. And I love a family, a sister story.
Hmm. Yeah, there
Love
were so
that.
many components of it that I loved. Like I loved the sister component of it. I
Mm-hmm.
love the marriage, and like how you can have there's different types of marriages out there, and like
Yes.
what you accept as the best type of relationship for yourself. And it's like that idea of true love versus um like traditional courtship, I guess.
Yeah.
So there was like that whole idea. There was the idea of like relationships within a family dynamic and how those can change as you get older.
Mm-hmm.
There was so much thought. And I also loved how there was tragedy in this, but I was able to focus more on the bigger picture than the grief of the moment, which I haven't
Yeah.
read a book like that before, to be honest with you. Like there was death in it, and I was waiting for the death to come, and I was like, I'm gonna be a mess reading this, and I just like don't have that capacity right
Mm.
now. Like
Seriously.
I'm crying enough. Don't make me cry again. But then they like the author was just so great about like expressing what happened and then like moving on throughout the plot. And I loved
Yeah.
that it too. It was just like really cool.
Yeah. I feel like so there were like so many, I have so many notes written down, and like that just touched on like half of them, I feel like.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
No, in a good way. But like I feel like that really touched on I kept seeing this kind of pattern and theme of like touching on how we have like this ripple effect on other people's lives, and we might not notice it, or we might take it for granted. But like how like Charlie was kind of portrayed as this like, he drinks too much, he's inadequate in Rose's eyes, maybe he's not the perfect father, but like then once he was gone, he was missed so much by the girls. He obviously touched so many people in the community. And like same with like William, thinking that like he didn't matter at all, he didn't have a real family. And then like the students that he touched when he did try to kill himself, and then the family like really pulled him back in and accepted him and became his family. And all of that too,
Hmm.
which I think is
Yeah.
an important thing to keep in mind.
The characters were so interesting to me, and I feel like those two characters, and like specifically, my favorite character throughout the story was Charlie. I loved him. I loved his little brain and the way that he saw
Hmm.
the world. I feel like people like that are so under loved, I guess, or
Yeah, like
appreciated.
undervalued.
Yeah. And he was just like the way his mind thought. It was just like an amazing thing. Um,
And the way he was a dad too to the girls, like I
yes.
feel like was just so nice, like really trying to connect with them and the poetry and I don't know, it was cute.
Yeah, it was so cute. And then William was a really difficult character for me to, I don't know, like, hate, like all of the different emotions and like try to understand.
Mm,
Um, Such a complicated scenario. Like you try to kill yourself. I like get that's like a serious depression. And it's like I appreciated who he was in his relationship with Julia and obviously with
mm-hmm.
Sylvie, and like the honesty that went into that was so cool.
Yeah.
But I just like I can't get over the idea of not like wanting to be in your child's life. And I think that it's so personal to
Yeah.
the reader. It's like thinking about my own childhood, and it's like my dad did the same things. And I mean, he didn't specifically in this type of situation, but like he chose to not have me in his life. And it's like now, especially as my own, as being a parent myself, like no matter
You're like,
what,
how?
I could never, ever, ever, ever let that happen. And it's like that part was confusing to me.
Yeah.
But also trying to just like be understanding. It was so like,
And I think
oh,
that's
you
like
just,
what it wanted you to do. Like, I think that's what the author was like going for because it was this thing where you get the picture of his trauma and how his parents abandoned him
mm,
and he feels like he is just this like tornado of like badness when really it's like I felt the same way. I'm like you took the weenie way out and like even though you're like mentally ill and like mentally feeling like you're not prepared to be a dad, like I feel like Sylvie should have pushed him to make contact with Alice. Like after all those years, how could you not? And like he felt so abandoned by his parents and he obviously knew what that did to him. And now you're going to do the same exact thing to your daughter. I'm glad there was like a rekindling at the end, but also I'm like, how does Alice also not hate him?
I
Like,
know, I
I'm
know.
glad she doesn't because then there's like a chance to move forward.
That was the only part that wasn't so real to me throughout the story was that there was no like real hatred in it. And I
Mm,
think that that's like just not common in society. Like if I were
yeah.
any of those characters at any time, I probably could have been like very angry. And there was no like anger throughout the story.
I know it was funny. I feel like it was just such a story of like people not fucking communicating with each other.
Yeah.
Like
Ooh,
instead of talking, they just left. Or
yes.
like instead of talking, they just let it be. Like William and Julia, like he wasn't telling her what she needs. She was just like not wanting to know who he really was and was just like, you are this person, just the way Rose was with Charlie. Like there was so many parallels of
Mm.
that too, I feel like Rose doing something and then like Julia kind of doing the same exact thing, even though she was like, I'm gonna be different than her in their relationship. And then it's funny how sometimes like history really just repeats itself like generation to generation too,
Yeah,
you know?
I love that idea. I haven't even thought about that, about the major component being the communication styles, and there really not being any. And I
Right.
think
Like they're just
sometimes we're
accepting things
like,
at face value.
yeah, I think sometimes in life you're like, I'm just gonna let it be and let it wash over. And I think that that feels healthy sometimes, but like
Mm,
looking at the bigger picture, like how do you want your life to end up? Do you want to be real and honest, regardless of how it ends up, or do you just want to live comfortably? It's a
yeah.
big,
I think there's a lot of like specifically talking about like Julia and William's marriage and their whole dating and all of that. Like, I feel like that's actually a common thing that happens a lot, especially now, obviously, not talking about you and Chad because you and Chad are very honest, especially with each other about who you are and all of that. So that negates that. But people that get married really young like that, where like he didn't have a chance to heal all of these like crazy abandonment wounds. Like William was definitely not in a place at all in his life to be like pursuing a romantic relationship. Like he definitely needed to heal himself. Although it's understandable why he was just like, "Oh my gosh, this person is choosing me and I'll be whatever they need me to be. Like just don't abandon me," kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then like later, obviously it all kind of falls apart.
Mhm.
Um and like same with Julia, like just being like, okay, well, you can fit into my perfect little storyline and my perfect little box. And that's how our life will be. And that's how our marriage will be. And like not having these real conversations that you need to have before a marriage about like, what does marriage mean for you? Like, what do you want out of marriage? What does that look like for you? And I feel like that probably happens all the time.
All the time. And it's funny because like I completely agree with you. I think getting married really young, like especially like I did, like I didn't even understand the scope of like what marriage was. And
Mm,
I feel like Chad and I have a lot of luck in our relationship because when one of us like decides to change or whatever, like the other one usually follows and like likes the
mm.
direction that we're going in. But it's like there has to be space for movement in a relationship. Like
Yeah.
everyone changes and it's like
And
no one's the same.
acceptance.
Yeah, I have to accept and like you have to be individuals and you need to work together as a partnership. Like it's so complicated. And some people just think it's like, well, I just need to get married and this person's like pretty decent and kind of like is a placeholder, but it's so
Yeah.
much more complicated than that. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like people just want to be loved and,
mhm.
all of that. So totally get it. But it was interesting to see it all play out. But okay, since we're here, I feel like we need to talk about the biggest controversy of them all. And that is the William, Sylvie, Julia love triangle, if you could call it that. Like, does love conquer all? Is all fair in love and war? What were your thoughts?
Well, I don't even know where to start. I feel like
Mm-hmm.
if I were in
Agreed.
like it simplified it a lot. I think that the writing simplified the situation a lot. Like you just have to be honest and you just need to follow your path of love. And like a lot of the times I was reading it and I'm like, am I following like the exact like, oh my God, you're so real and like just following your heart. And I feel like it's so much more complicated than that. So
Mm-hmm.
that's the first thing I would do. But I am like inspired by that thought too of really understanding that everyone has choices and you can choose love and honesty. Um, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Same. I went back and forth so much. Like when I first was getting that idea, like I had all these like sticky notes written down. And like when I was going back through them when I was preparing for the episode, they all were like, oh my God, are really even Sylvie gonna fall in love? What the fuck? And my first reaction was kind of like, all right, I feel like this is why it's bad to grow up on all these like fairy tale love stories and like all that stuff where it's very much like your one true love, where like, no, if you're having these feelings, you just don't let them develop and you choose to like not pursue that because it's your sister.
Mm-hmm.
But then also like the scenario that they were in made that a different scenario because he was literally trying to kill himself. And so you care about this human being and you know he doesn't have other people.
Right.
So humanness, like you want to choose that
Right.
to like help someone. And then I agree with you. There's something really beautiful about how, she talks about choosing an honest and a brave life. There's something so beautiful in that.
Mm-hmm.
And, but also, weenies. William and Sylvie, weenie number one and weenie number two. Sylvie, take your ass to New York City and have a conversation with your sister. Call
Yeah.
her up. You made your sister do it? Like, I understand that, like, it probably, she was like, I don't want to hurt her more by showing up at her door or me being the one to call her, but like,
hmm
that feels
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah, that feels like it's just easier for you. Like you kind of deserve to get like yelled at and like felt like shit on that situation.
Right? Or at least face the situation and be like, I understand if you can't move forward with me, but like there was no path forward because there was no communication about it.
Yeah, no,
And
you're
for
so right.
so many years
Yeah.
too.
And I think you have a much better like understanding having two sisters, whereas I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Like it's totally different for you too, you know?
I mean, I can, it like makes my skin crawl to even think about being in that situation with my
Yeah.
sisters because like I cannot imagine, but I also can't imagine. I don't know. I mean, like, obviously, I am so in love with Mark and he is my person and all of that, but like, I don't know. I don't feel like if he was married to my sister, I would be like, I must. He is my one true love. Like, I don't know if I would blow up my whole entire family for I don't know. Like that feels
Yeah.
really, maybe that's a fucked up thing to say, but
No, I
like,
think that that's what I was feeling too. And then I was having this like thought of like, well, if I wouldn't do that, am I truly in love? You know, like it makes you think about like all of the scenarios of like I don't think I would even be able to do that to like a really good friend of mine, you know?
yeah.
And then I'm like, well,
Yeah.
maybe if you found the love that's in this story, then you would. But I'm like, but I feel like I have found a pretty decent love.
Yeah, like I feel really solid about our love and our relationship, but like I don't know. But I think again, that's that weird depiction of like you have your one and your one and only and that is it. When like there's millions of people in the world, like
Yeah.
you probably would have met someone else and had a really lovely life with them, but also that's not what happened. So,
Do you believe in that? Do you think that you have one true love, or do you think that there are
no.
multiple people? Yeah.
I think there can be multiple people. I think that's like such a scary and sad way of looking at the world. It can be very beautiful, a beautiful way of looking at the world, but I also feel like people come into your life for a reason.
Mhm.
And like in that way, I believe in like fate and like that kind of stuff. Like I think there's a purpose to it all, but I also feel like if I dropped dead tomorrow, I would hope that Mark would like find another wonderful love in his life, even though I would want to like haunt her for the rest of her life. But like
I
realistically,
always
you
say
know?
that to Chad, and Chad's like, you could never remarry. I would never want you to remarry. And I'm like, that's a terrible thing to say to me. He said that to me literally since I've met him. Like, I'm your only one. You could never have some.
Mhm.
I'm like, if you die, I'm getting remarried.
Right? I'm like, actually, if you die,
I
like,
like have a list on my phone. I'm like, Amanda's next.
yeah, that I was gonna say. I'm like, if you die, we are building a lady commune, raising our children together, and like having like a platonic marriage, and it would be
That's like
dope.
my dream. Are you kidding me?
Honestly, though, it would be dope. Okay, let me go through my notes and see if there are any other pertinent things that we must discuss.
Okay.
We talked about generational trauma
Of course, one of our many themes on the podcast.
for sure. Um, okay, wait. I did you feel like really sad for Julia? Because I kind of felt really sad for Julia.
Yeah, I did. And I felt really bad for like their life because it's like my idea of a happy life is the opposite of what they established their life on.
Mm,
Like they only had each other. They had a lot of money, which is great. They lived in like the busiest part of the world. And it's just like very like, I don't know, that just is so small to me.
yeah, and it just was like I felt so sad because she really was abandoned. It was like she wasn't really taught, like her mom really taught her how to do exactly what she did, which was try to control a situation and then run. Like her dad literally dies
I know.
Her husband leaves her. Her sister decides, oh, I'm in love with your ex-husband, so I'm gonna do that. Your mom leaves you. And then, of course, then she made choices based on all of that, which was really sad. But I felt so bad.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I
She could have
definitely,
handled things differently, but still.
yeah, I know. I know. She was an interesting character too, because I feel like
Yeah.
she was so strong in her beliefs.
Mm,
But yeah, I actually had fun like imagining who she was in my head out of all the characters too. They
me
did a great
too.
job of like explaining what she looked like and how like powerful she was, and I like liked her in a way, and then in another way I was like I did feel bad.
Yeah. She definitely had a older sister energy with the like headstrong and just
Yeah.
um okay. I feel like we should talk about the like all of the parallels in the book. Like
Parallel.
Izzy's birth and Charlie's death
Mm.
happening like at the same exact time. And then Alice's return and Sylvie's death.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah, they call them like 1-2 punches. That
mm,
was like very unrealistic to me. I'm not gonna lie. Like reading that, I was like, this feels very dramatic.
mm.
Um,
Like perfectly timed
yeah, I'm like,
everything,
of
like it would
course.
happen on a movie or on a
Right,
TV show.
exactly. So I feel like I thought about that and then I was like, well, it's kind of silly. But there was also so much like tragedy. I thought more
Mm,
about the Alice and the Sylvie thing because I was like, if only they had reconnected when she was alive, like they could have all become like
a big happy
happy again,
family.
And
And
it's
Alice
like,
and Sylvie were so similar too, I feel like.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, that's kind of how I felt. What about you?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was very much like a not picture perfect because it was tragedy, but like a perfectly timed thing. But it was interesting when then it happened again with Alice
Right.
and Sylvie. I was like, good God, these people can't catch a motherfucking break.
Yeah.
um, and I loved all of the like Little Women references in it.
Hmm.
But then it also like had the story itself had so many parallels to Little Women too, with like the falling in love with the not falling in love with the same person, but that whole storyline of like Julia and Sylvie and the older
I don't think I've ever
sister.
read The Little Woman. Isn't that weird?
Oh my God, you got to.
Is it like old?
Yeah, it's like an old classic.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure now, I could be wrong. Louisa May Alcott, whoever wrote
Oh,
Little
yeah, yeah,
Women, it
yeah.
was in Massachusetts, I
Oh, cool.
think. Yeah.
Okay.
Or you could just watch the movie. The new one is great.
Okay. I think I would prefer that one
Do
with my
that.
life right now.
Yeah, do that. Like don't bother. Just watch the movie. It's
Just
lovely.
it's
But very
easier.
much that like kind of like Sylvie choosing that honest and brave life, going against the grain, all of that. Um, and like even the parallels to like Alice and Sylvie, like Alice being like a book editor and all of that was so cute.
Mhm. I know that was cute. But again, very like
Right.
perfect.
Like duh.
Yeah.
Okay, and then one other one that like maybe is a stretch. Okay, two others that maybe are a stretch. Okay, when Sylvie, right before she died, she was talking about like feeling her whole life in her body. Remember that part? And then when William was like experiencing grief and stuff, and he kind of described a similar feeling and comparing it to like the silence and like emptiness of his depression. It's like that's interesting that like he's experiencing grief in like the same way that I don't know. It was like a random
No,
parallel.
yeah, I think that is a parallel, but also like I feel very artsy like analyzing this book, don't
Oh my
you?
God. Yes, we
Very,
are literary girlies in
yes.
our
Like,
AP English class.
but we have no words for it. We're like, mm-hmm,
You're like,
mm-hmm. Yeah. It was
yes.
cool. I did kind of notice something weird going on.
It's like a movie.
Clearly don't take our
The
English.
metaphors and analogies and parallels are
Oh,
similar to the adjectives and the verbs.
But I do know what you're saying. I just don't have words. So I agree.
Yeah, for sure. And then the last one was when Emmeline, is that her name? The
Fine.
Emmeline. Um, like when Sylvie first made her decision to be with William, and then Emmeline comes to the library and they have that silent moment in the like in between the stacks
I don't
that
remember
like
that.
she like comes, yeah, she comes to the library to visit Sylvie and they like don't say anything. She just like gives her a big hug. And then that's kind of like, okay, we're okay now. And I
Yeah.
felt like it was so similar to like her moments with all of her like makeout boys in the library, where it's
It was
like,
so funny. That was like a funny thing to read about. I'm like, I could never imagine making out with someone for 90 seconds in the library. Like,
no, but I loved it. It
yeah,
was so funny.
yeah, she was a funny character. Yeah, there
Yeah.
was a lot. And then even like her with Julia when they like hadn't touched or whatever. And then she held her hands in the movie and it was like, that's all they
Yeah.
needed, you know? And I think
Yeah.
it's so true too of just like that human touch sometimes is so much
Hmm.
more powerful than
Words.
you can talk and talk and talk sometimes in circles. And then it's like, okay, sometimes you don't need to say anything.
Yeah. It's like that, just that need for human connection.
Hmm.
Also, even if it doesn't have to mean anything, like a 90-second little make out in the stacks.
Or just have like a 1 night stand. It doesn't even matter.
Just do it. Just go for it. Um, okay, and then one last thing, which I feel like is very pertinent to the times in both of our lives of feeling like, what direction do we want to take
Hmm.
our lives in? Um, so Sylvie always imagining her life to be full of like these third doors, like an unexpected way of living, her like honest, her brave life. Um, so like, yeah, I don't know. What third doors are in our own lives? What third doors can we make? And I feel like we already have made some like third door decisions of like you leaving teaching,
Yeah,
me flopping around doing whatever I'm doing.
I know. It is so true. It's like, it's so cool to be able to just like open up yourself to any possibility, even if it's like scary and everything. But
Mm,
I will say, like, this way of living, which is completely different than what I was doing when I was teaching and working and getting a salary and all of that. It's like there's so much room for like seeing the world differently. It's
hmm.
like it's I think that people find so much safety in just like boundaries, you know? And I think that if you just start little steps, you'll notice like the world is so much bigger and more beautiful and like you can feel yourself on so many different levels. And I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing. I think it's just a thing, you know? Um,
Yeah.
but there's more than one way to live. And accepting other people, I think I've learned too by just kind of living outside of the norm.
Me too. I was thinking about that yesterday for some reason because my AirPods were dead and I took Poe for a walk without
You had to think.
other noise. So I had to listen to my own thoughts. And for some reason that was coming to mind. I don't remember what about, but like I feel like as you get more comfortable with your own life decisions, you become like less judgmental of what other people are choosing to do because it's like that's what works for them and that's a wonderful thing. Like
Yeah.
doesn't have to be what works for me. I totally agree with you. I feel like it doesn't have to be a career thing. It doesn't have to mean leaving your stable job. It could mean like changing companies after you've been at one place for so long, which can feel really scary, but open up a whole new like wealth of opportunity. Or like I've known some people recently who chose to move to a totally different place and that feels really scary, but then they meet a bunch of new people or like you said, find a new way of like thinking and like looking at life and yeah.
I think it could even be smaller than that though. I think it can be being like, I want to wear this clothing, even
Mm,
though it's not trendy. You know, I
yeah,
want this
skinny
water
jeans.
bottle because I like the way it looks as opposed to it being one of
The
the popular
Stanley.
water bottles. Yeah. You
I
know, like
totally
I think it
agree.
can be like those simplest things because then they scaffold into the bigger things. I think the big things are scary, but if you just start by really living intentionally and looking at every little option you're making,
Mm.
it builds up into those big moments.
I agree. Like living honestly with the smallest decisions in your life, yeah, can totally snowball into those bigger decisions.
Hmm.
Oh, I love that. All right. Well, what would you rate this book? Give it to me.
I would give it 5 stars.
Yeah, girl.
I really liked it.
I honestly, I would say like 4 or 5. So maybe like a 4.5. Mostly
Mm.
just because like towards the end, I was like, I just want to finish this.
Yeah, I know. I did feel that way too, but I'm an easy reader, you know?
Yeah, but I wasn't like dreading reading it or anything like
No, me
other slow
neither.
books.
Yeah.
So I want more like this year.
Yeah. See, I could do like one a year because like I said, I really had to think about it. And I was
Mm,
like I read so many self-help books and this was
mm.
different, but it was also retrospective. So,
Yeah, love that.
mhm.
Loved that. It reminded me, not like so much, but kind of similar to The Paper Palace, in that it really was just about like humans being humans, you know? What other content have you been consuming this month? Have you
Ooh.
been watching anything, reading anything, listening to anything?
What have I been? I have, oh my God, how could I forget? I'm literally telling everyone, including you. I watched You Are What You Eat, and
Oh
it
yeah,
is a documentary on Netflix,
we
and
gonna do it.
I do a whole thing about it because my brain is into it.
Mm.
So I've been watching that and also still on 90 Day Fiance binging. So,
Yes.
yep, yep. So
Have you
that's,
done Married at First Sight yet?
oh
And
my
my
God, yeah.
10,000 pound
Oh
sisters.
yeah, Chad.
Oh, those
Can't
ladies.
let me lose. Can't let
You
me lose.
don't even know what it is.
What's up, ladies?
You
I
don't know
watched
how it
it.
feels.
I watched it for like 15 minutes one night, and now Chad thinks I'm like obsessed with it and sends me videos of like clips of it. And I'm like, I was just trying to watch something different because all we do is
Yes.
young Sheldon, and I'm not
Young
into
Sheldon.
Well, Caitlin said that she's trying to lower the bar for herself by seeing me watch
Yes.
what 800 pounders, you
Then
know?
she's like, hey,
Yeah.
good
look
for
at
yourself.
all of this. Yeah, I will die on this hill that Married at First Sight is the GOAT of TLC shows. And there's 11 or like 12 seasons. You can stream it all. Oh my God, it's amazing reality TV.
Be live right now.
We don't do live, no.
All right.
We're on
It's like, okay, I won't say that then.
All right.
What about podcast or other books? What about you?
Okay, I read The Silent Patient
That's right.
over the honeymoon. That was amazing. And then I read The Next Girl, which was another kind of like thrillery, murdery. It was not as good as The Silent Patient, but it was quick. It hooked you. It was pretty good. But like Hella Beautiful was like a definite lovely break from the thrillers. Needed to get away from the murder for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay, shows. The Morning Show. I binged it all so
Mhm.
quickly. I probably already talked about it because it was in December into January, but it counts as my January content.
Mhm.
Amazing. I'm very late to the party, so this is not breaking news. It's been going on for a while. And then Mark and I just watched Beef on Netflix.
Oh yeah, Chad and I watched that too.
It was literally crazy.
I didn't like it. I'm not gonna lie, didn't like it.
Okay, I really liked it because like we both were hooked and like we don't ever both enjoy the same show. Literally
Okay.
ever. Like we start a show and then like one of us isn't paying attention and
Yeah.
then we're like, no, we're not really liking it. And it's like, well, you're not fucking watching it, you're on your phone. One of us, just one of
Mhm.
us, you know.
Yeah, I don't know anyone like that.
But like I didn't like it because it took it too far. Like the ending was fucked up. And
I
I
don't even
didn't
think I
need
got
that.
to the ending, so I was like, just
Don't because it's gross and it takes it too far and it's a lot.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Um, I watched Saltburn.
Oh my God, I put that on for 10 seconds and I was like, what the F is going on? No, no passing
Honestly, Mark
that.
and I loved it.
Oh my
But
God, I
it
feel like
was
you have a delusional mind to be able to watch something like that. I was like, what is going on? I literally watched 30 seconds of it and I was like, the cinematography of this is like
it was
way too.
very like artsy, but then like messed up. But like if you're into any shock factor things, It's pretty good.
Okay. I heard amazing things. I just like, I don't know. My mind cannot go there right now.
You're not alone in that. Like people are like going off about how
Yeah.
fucked up it is. Um, and then I've been just like a easy binge when I'm doing stuff. Good Trouble on Hulu, which is bad. Like it's a bad CW sitcom, but like into it.
You need this. You need this.
I
I
love
love it.
that.
Cool.
Cool beans. Well, we're gonna read a gentle reminder as our February book because February is the month of like
Love.
love and care. So we're also kind of working in some self-care, self-love, and that kind of fits the bill on that.
Yep.
So dope.
I love it. Then I'll have a baby and I'll
Ah,
leave you
ah,
to your girls.
so
Maybe have
crazy.
some co-hosts, like invite some fun co-hosts on or something.
Yeah, absolutely. It's gonna be like we're gonna miss you, obviously, but we're gonna make it work, and it's
Sure.
gonna be great.
Yeah, I love it.
Cool. So if you made it this far, hang on for 2 more seconds, and it's something that you and I have talked about.
Okay.
So this is not new information. However,
Mhm.
the other night I took an edible and was just like really thinking about the podcast and like the direction that we're taking it in and all of that. And I was thinking about how like sick and tired I am of like influencers and honestly a lot of like influencery podcasts because at this point like they're so out of touch with reality and they're just like
There's no content anymore. I feel like you're listening and it's like a 2.5 minute break trying to sell you these like CBD gummies. And I'm
right,
like, girl.
right. Like 1 million ads of companies that are like to begin with.
Yeah.
Like uh, like these people that act like they're experts on things but they have no education about them, like I'm just over it. And then I
Mhm.
think about like the conversations that you and I have with each other and some of these like really cool people that like we talk to in the podcast or even just like people that I like talk to in my day-to-day life. Like I am so inspired by like my friends and like people that I like members that I meet at Lifetime and like just these random people that like have so much more to share than like these random people on the internet that like for some reason have millions of followers. And we've already done this before with like having Megan on and talking about her birth story and stuff, but like I want to have more of just like normies on the
Mhm.
podcast.
I like that.
So to the audience, if you have anyone in your life, if you feel like you have something that you want to share, your mom has a cool life story, or your friend is doing something really cool and helping people, and you want to get the word out, like anything and everything, send us your people and we want to have them on. And yeah, that's all. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Mm.
Come on over. Come hang out.
Come on over. Come on over, baby.
Oh my God, this is reminding me. I just saw a TikTok and I literally never go on TikTok. I've maybe watched 2 videos a week at this point,
That's
and it was
amazing.
telling me about how like there's this idea of not doing baby showers anymore and doing like
Mm,
I don't know what the term is, but basically it was you get your girlfriends together,
mm,
you wear pajamas, you go to the woman's house who is going to have a baby, you
mm-hmm.
watch TV and you bring her frozen meals and you make bracelets and like that's all. That's all.
Yeah.
I was like, that's a great idea. Like just the simplicity of like let's
Yes.
get together and like not make a big deal about things.
1,000,000%. So I
So
feel
come
like I
on over.
should just tell you that me, Alex, and Taylor were literally just texting about this yesterday,
That
being
is so
like,
funny.
okay, we saw this TikTok and we need to do this for Caitlin. So
So funny
since
because
you
they're
already
right
know
next door.
about it, I'm ruining the surprise. I told them I wasn't good at surprises, so here we are.
I know.
So we'll talk offline and we'll choose a date because we're doing
Right.
that. So
You know what? We're putting it out to the audience. If you guys want to come over, come on over. We'll make
yes,
bracelets. It'll be a thing. Why
yes,
not?
yes.
Open house, like I said, always. Just don't be creepy on my couch.
I love it. That's all she wrote.
All right. See you guys later.
Love you. Bye.